Robert Adams has been photographing the landscapes and scenery of the American West since 1964. Adams' inspiration for photography came from his joy in the beauty of nature and his dismay at the sight of its exploitation. In his photographs, Adams expresses his love for the landscape of the West while also communicating the environmental impact of the urban and industrial expansion that debased the once uncorrupted views. Adams was born in 1937 and was raised in the suburbs of Denver, Colorado. After moving to Southern California to receive a Ph.D. in English, Adams returned to Colorado to become a professor at Colorado College. The first thing Adams noticed once he moved back to Colorado was the changes in the landscape. His first impulse was to buy a 35mm camera and start taking pictures. He studied photography for a little while still continuing his work as a professor. But 1964 was the year when Robert dropped everything but his camera and traveled throughout the western states, documenting his journey along the way. While many artists have found beauty in the sublime, Adams finds it in the mundane. A crooked road sign, a decrepit trailer park, or a vast and empty field. Unlike the crisp and clean tonal contrast of landscapes done by Ansel Adams or Thomas Cole, Robert Adams printed many of his photographs in a way that makes them look slightly washed out or blurry, which subtly accentuates the plainness of the subject or feature in the image. One series that captures the intent of his photography is titled The New West. This series documents the development and gentrification of Golden, Colorado. The title The New West gives meaning to the images he is capturing of construction and road signs in the valleys of Colorado. The New West is symbolic of the 19th century American doctrine Manifest Destiny, the justified and inevitable movement and expansion to the West. Adams witnessed this New West development happen at an alarming speed, to the untouched free range, to the track housing, malls, and parking lots. In his series titled Turning Back, Adams documents the less beautiful and more horrifying images of clear-cutting in the old-growth forests of Oregon. Robert attaches a description of his series that explains the basic knowledge about old-growth forests and the effects of clear-cutting. More than 90% of the original forest in the American Northwest has been clear-cut at least once. Adams demonstrates this devastation by taking pictures of the giant stumps of trees that were once 500 years old, and the extensive mountainsides that are swept clear of all wildlife and plant life and remain barren only with the skeletons of dead tree limbs and trunks. This series represents Adams' concerns for the future of the land, and he expresses this when he adds in thought-provoking questions to the description of the series, such as, is there a relationship between clear-cutting and war, the landscape of one being in some respects like the landscape of the other? This question seems far from reality, but it shows how his work is more than printing an image. It is about the message it conveys and what it can mean in a greater sense. The Pawnee National Grassland series, called Perfect Times, Perfect Places, is a good example of Adams' fascination with landscape photography and the beauty of simplicity in nature. The series takes place in the grasslands of Colorado. A woman and a small white dog are the subjects in a few of the images. To capture the best shot, Adams waits for the natural, candid moment to occur, be it the little white dog juxtaposed against the vast and endless-looking prairie, the bright white flowers against the background of the gray grasses, or a single black bird as the only point of interest in the never-ending landscape. This series strays from his normal images he shoots of the effects of the human presence on nature. The images in this series have a lighter, less gloomy feeling. Adams adds in the description of this series that the Pawnee National Grasslands is a reserve established in the 1930s to rehabilitate a part of the Dust Bowl. The land is spacious and an optimal spot for viewing a grayly untouched expanse of prairie. Robert Adams' photography has reached museums and exhibits all over the country. While his photos were once overlooked and misunderstood, they are now rightly seen as revolutionary. Adams represents a changing face to American photography, the way artists of all kinds perceive the physical world around them. Adams' work mainly expresses how the West presents an unlimited natural resource for human consumption. His work discusses the impact of the American desire to consume and produce and keep extracting from the environment. But it also conveys hope. He discussed this in the foreword of his new book. I began making pictures because I wanted to record what supports hope, the untranslatable mystery and beauty of the world. He also adds, along the way, however, the camera also caught evidence against hope, and I eventually concluded that this too belonged in pictures if they were to be truthful and thus useful. Adams found his path as a photographer by translating his own view of the world through the lens and by the printed image for the public to heed the message that comes from his work.